Cool.
Are
Awesome.
we, are we there? Is that us? Is this happening right now?
Welcome to
You are live.
Welcome to Taco Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Lynda Sunshine West, and co-hosts Anita Myers and Mary Ziola Vega. So first of all, you know what? I want to start this show, and I know I'm outside here. Yes, I'm wearing a hoodie, but you guys were talking to me earlier this morning about how cold it is over there.
It's stupid cold. It's freaking stupid cold. You would never know because we're very fortunate to be indoors and the heat's working. We've got light. Life is good, but if we step outside, I haven't checked. Mary, if you can check, what does the weather say right now in Chicago? I know we were told that it's going to go to like 30 degrees below wind chill factor, but I don't know the exact temperature, how low it can go.
Hey, that's like from that Grease movie, right? How low can you go? How low can you go?
It's 5 degrees right now where I live.
Oh my gosh, that's Fahrenheit, peoples.
Did you say 5?
You said 5.
5. It's a heat wave. It's not a big deal.
That's a heat wave. We'll see, because when I thought I heard her say -5, because that would make more sense.
No, it's 5. But we live in Chicago. We should expect this.
Well, yeah,
it's normal.
Mary, you're right. January in Chicago, this is kind of standard.
Par for the course, right? Well, I have a question for you guys, because Chicago is known as the Windy City. I've never been there before, but have you guys ever been in a situation where, like, I just imagine like the wind is so strong that you're leaning against it and it's holding you up? Have you ever? No, that's not real. That's in the movies only.
I have an embarrassing story about wind.
Yeah. I mean, if you're downtown,
and it's not about breaking wind either.
Yeah, if you're downtown off the lake, it's windy, but it's not like windy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because remember, we're right in the middle of a lake. Here's the bottom of Lake Michigan, so that wind comes in like this, and it blows right on. That's why they call it Windy City.
It sounds like it blew up Anita's skirt or something. I don't know. What? You said you had an embarrassing story. That's the only embarrassment I can imagine. What?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. It was I know when I go into the city, I shall never wear a skirt that is flowy because, and even in the suburbs, I'm not even going to X out the suburbs. I had gone to a restaurant. I got out of my car. I'm by myself. I'm single. And, I was headed to a restaurant that I'm going to meet a friend in. And this restaurant had windows all in the front. So you could see people sitting down and eating. And it was a beautiful summer day. And the wind, you swear the wind had arms or hands, lifted my skirt up. And I was wearing a very questionable, unmentionable that no one needed to know about. And I remembered I was holding something in my hand. So it wasn't like I could immediately just go like this and hold it down. It was like, how do you, it was so embarrassing. And, you can't go up to the window and try to get your skirt down. It was a bad day. It was a very bad moment. But yeah, I learned to wear pants when I go into the city, or, if it's a windy day, we're wearing pants.
Yeah. Sometimes we learn from others and sometimes we learn from ourselves, right?
Or keep your hands free so that you're not in a situation like I was. That was a bad day.
Oh my God. That made me laugh, like tears in my eyes. Okay.
Well, I'm glad it made you laugh. It had me almost in tears in the other way. It was so bad. What do you do when you walk in? Like, they just got a show.
They probably didn't even notice.
You know what, Mary? I love your way of thinking, and for your sake, I'm going to hope that that's the case. But the people that were smiling through the window, I don't think that they didn't see a show.
Well, maybe they thought it was beautiful and not to worry about it.
They thought, you know what? Thank you. Maybe they thought that was a piece of art. That's right. Maybe they said, you know what? I'm going to use that and sculpt my next piece of art for the future. Maybe I impressed upon them.
You were an inspiration to someone. You never know.
Yes, you inspired the next Mona Lisa.
There you go.
I was thinking of like the next mannequin for like some lingerie store. It was just never again. Well, I should be glad that happened in my 20s and not now. How about that? That's a good thing.
There we go.
Yeah, but that's Chicago for you. I mean, I love the city. I love Chicago. I love Chicagoland. I love everything. So many things about it. The hard part is if you aren't prepared for something like the winters here. I love to challenge. I think I did tell somebody, I challenged them, just come for one winter, just to experience it. I know it sounds crazy, but you're going to be in a nice hotel. Just get out for a moment and see what it is that people walk through to go to work still. Experience it once to say that you've been through a Chicago winter, to understand the mental makeup of people like Mary and even myself. Like, in all honesty, we just have to do it. We got to deal with it, and we're here. We're okay. We go through it every year of our lives, but it does sound scary when it comes to if you're a parent and you have a child and they've got to go to a bus stop and wait. Those are the moments that we all kind of say,
Or it's scary when you think about the homeless people under, Wacker Drive. Or there's so many homeless teenagers out there that are too proud to put a hat on, or put their fingers in gloves, and it's really sad because when you get your hands and that, when they get so bad, when they get what do you call it, frostbite, they turn black and they hurt and they're painful, and a lot of kids are just too proud to put that on. There's a lot of homeless teenagers that we don't even realize that are down there that just don't want to do it, so they have nowhere to go. School's closed tomorrow. And those kids have nowhere to go, because there are kids that really don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate. But the school has to be closed because, like what you just said, Anita, you can't expect, in Chicago public school system, they do not own buses. The kids must walk, take a public bus, or get transportation. So yes, there is no school yellow bus that goes around and picks them up. They have to take the CTA, public transportation. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hi, Alicia. Alicia says, or your car gets stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to chime in on this one. Our guest, Alicia, that's speaking. Thank you very much, Alicia, for the reminder. She came to my home yesterday. We were having a conversation about whatever, talking about certain things. And it was time for her to leave. She was in between errands, and she happened to be in the neighborhood. She says, hey, I'm going to stop by. She stops by for a while. And mind you, we had a snowstorm that took place, and we didn't yet have, there's a story among a lot of folks where the plow trucks had not come out yet. Mm-hmm. I knew that the person that comes around to our location that does the snow plowing, he had been out snow plowing since 1 o'clock in the morning, and he only was able to get to me when he could, and he did. But before that, Alicia came to the home, and she was ready to leave, and I had asked her if she had a 4-wheel drive, and she says, no, I don't. And in my head, I'm like, oh boy, because I had learned over the years that if you live in Chicago and you're going to have to park your car in parking lots, and sometimes the driveways are different, you can get stuck. And so if you have a 4-wheel drive, you have more of a chance of getting out of something like that. She came to the house, and we should have done a live stream. It was kind of well, if we did a live stream, then you guys wouldn't have any more respect for me, because I just swore through the whole experience. In order for me to get the car to move forward, I was just talking to this car, but we were putting things underneath the tires. We were trying to get her car to get from like here to here, just to start it off. And we spent about an hour and a half working with different methods to get her car out.
Right?
And I've got cats, yeah.
Okay, you should have said kitty litter. Put it underneath all the tires. Put it in the snow. Put the kitty litter down.
Well, you just solved all my problems for the day with kitty litter. But here's what we did. We had salt. But you know what we did first is we first started off with all the cardboard boxes that we had from moving. We still had quite a bit. So we had flattened those out. My husband comes out. He has a hand broken. So picture this whole thing. And he's taking the cardboard boxes. Alicia's taking the cardboard boxes, sticking it into the car, where the tires are, trying to see if we can get some traction. That didn't work. It just spun the cardboard out to the other side. And then we took garlands, like for Christmas, all the garlands that are the natural, I don't know, pine, whatever, put that in the car to try to create traction. And then I go, we tried to do that. I look like Austin Powers going back and forth and back and forth. I'm going to do it. We're going to do it, And then eventually I'm like, salt, we have salt. Brian goes back in, gets the bag of salt, lays it out in the front and the back. And then by the time, I swear to you, I wasn't going to give up. We were so close to getting it over that little hump that we needed to. And the snowplow guy came. I'm like, no, I want to win this one. I want to make it happen. But we needed to get her out of there. And so we finally got it through. So Alicia's little comment about getting stuck, I don't think she'll ever forget it. I don't think
No,
anyone
neither.
will ever
Yeah.
forget it.
Yeah, we won't forget it either.
Yeah, it's a tough one when you deal with snow. I mean, it's beautiful, and a lot of folks like to. I guess in California, I've heard about companies that bring snow to your yard
Yeah.
so that
Yes,
you
they
can
have.
Snow
feel
is
the
It's
sense
melting.
called
of.
it's
Right?
called a snow machine. They bring water, and then when it sprays out as snow. They freeze it. Yeah.
That's way more fun because you can control it. Like we have no control of what Mother Nature wants to give us. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll deal
Yeah.
with it.
I know, it's so funny. Yeah, we even build ice rinks so that we can have a place to, do the ice skating during the wintertime. So
Well, you can make it, at least you can control it, make it happen. And that's fun. That's fun. With
yeah.
us, our hands are kind of tied with it, but we come up with some fun stories. I'm
So
glad that she was able to get out of the house, out of the driveway.
that's actually a great segue into our topic today, broadening boundaries. And I put my phone on do not disturb. I'm still getting disturbed. I don't know what that's all about. But today we're going to be talking about, broadening the boundaries. And Anita, I want you to read what you posted about Madonna, because I thought that was really cool. But this is, broadening the boundaries. Beliefs no longer have to be limited. So many of us have limiting beliefs, and I don't know if we all do, but I know I had many, many limiting beliefs where, as I've gotten older and have found different people in my life, I've expanded my beliefs, like living more in a thought of abundance and having more. And there's so much possibility out there, and stopping myself from stopping myself, from growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now, but we have a lot of Taco Tuesday posts. So give me just a quick second and I'll take a look and see if I can find it. I know I just posted it again on my phone. See, I'm on my phone to look at it real quick.
Cool,
What can I do without my phone? But yeah,
I know.
I was talking about what you're saying when we were thinking about what we were going to say to post. Did I put it on here? I was saying, the Madonna song popped up in my head. I heard, you keep pushing me, keep pushing my love. You just keep on pushing my love over the borderline. And I remember those days, you knew, I think the smell of that time was Drakkar and Obsession.
Yes,
Madonna was
Obsession.
like the wave of like new thinking and limit breaking. I mean, she really did. I didn't even realize I put that together until this morning about Madonna kind of led the way to lots of breaking of rules and limit pushing, But that song, that's the song that hit me. I'm gonna look for the post that I actually did. It was last week, I think, and then we can read it to you.
And then what it reminded me of, when you posted that, it reminded me of like when you were a kid or when I was a kid. And, if I had something I wanted, I would fight and fight and fight to get what I wanted, like kicking and screaming and just trying to get my way so bad. Those spoiled kids, right? Spoiled rotten kids want what they want. But now as I've become an adult, I noticed that what happened when I was a child, I was squelched. Then eventually I stopped trying so hard to get what I wanted, and then just like let my life happen and around me. And so recently though, coming like back into like, who is Lynda? What does Lynda want? And really striving more and more to get what I want. And it was hard for me at the beginning to even decide what I wanted, because I had lived so much of my life for other people, after just decades of living my life being a people pleaser and all that stuff. It's like, wow, what does Lynda want? Like I had to really sit and think about it, because I never considered myself until after being a kid. You know what I mean? So it was really interesting. It reminded me of that. When I wanted something, I would just cry until I got it, and I got almost everything I wanted because I would cry long enough and loud enough.
I think that's really funny. I found it. Do you want me to read this to you? I did find it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put, you just keep pushing my love over the borderline. And then I said, Madonna sang about it. We get pushed. And for some, getting pushed doesn't sit well. We struggle within rules that were either set for us or rules we set for ourselves. We want to own those rules, but what if we stretched a little? What if we drew a temporary discovery line for ourselves? Could we possibly enter a new land of potential? And I think that's really important to think about today in our lives, because when you just mentioned your example of when you're a kid, you did what you wanted to do, you pushed it, and I think when we're kids, if you really observe children, I love observing children, in their natural state. They own the world. They don't look at limits. There aren't limits. They don't know of it. I mean, if anything, if you didn't stop a child, they'll run right off the cliff. They don't care. They're just like, I just want to go and then enjoy and have freedom. And we're the ones, as the grown-ups, who know about mistakes and rights and wrongs. Some of us have our definitions that might be correct, and some of us might have definitions that are questionable. And so children are really free until they're given the boundaries by the lawmakers of society, by the people that are in their community, and then their close-knit family and extended family, all that. And then you've got your instructors and teachers. So they're learning all these things. And I think that, I love seeing when a child, it's a challenge. I think about my own kid. I do love seeing a child push for something. And I have to be able to be a parent enough to determine I should let go and let's see what happens. Or if this is a life-threatening, like, what are my rules to allow and to not allow? Some people, they create limits out of controlling a situation. And other times they create limits because it's a life-threatening thing. And we just don't want you to die, so you're not going to go do that. So I love that you shared what you shared, because think about the level that you took it to get what it is that you want. And in the end, that shows your strength in going after what's in your mind, what you desire, and you'll find ways to do it. Think about how you are today. It might not be the same way of handling it. You're probably not throwing tantrums to get what you want.
Not anymore. Yeah.
You're like, in your mind, your strength of wanting it is still there. It's now you've curtailed how you execute the way you get what you want. Right?
Right.
You're
a little bit
same
smarter. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I want to have Mary touch on this, because, she has her organization, Thriving Athletes. And Mary, so you're working with, kids all the time, and I'm not around kids anymore. So I don't remember what's it like to be a teenager, as far as like being around teenagers. And so what's the youngest that you work with, Mary? And then do you see differences in the ages and like the boundaries they set for themselves? Maybe the parents are setting boundaries, and we have helicopter parents, and like, what do you see? Like, how do you see boundaries as far as kids go and the athletes?
Well, it's a good question. Thanks for asking. I think the biggest thing is I work with kids 6th grade on up, and actually into college also. I think the biggest thing I see is that it's not the kids thinking they have that they have to have boundaries. It's the parents who put the boundaries on them. The parents put the beliefs in them that, no, you can't do this, or no, you can't go here. No, you don't have the best grades. No, you don't. You're not the best athlete. It's not the kid, and so it's a big fight internally all the time with athletes, because they want to do really well, and they want to go ahead and go on and do whatever, because anyone can play anywhere if it's in the right fit. So even if a kid wants to go play at junior college because that's where they belong, the parent puts a belief or the boundary, no, I don't like that college. So right away, stop the kid from where they're going, put the boundary up there. Now the kid says, oh, I can't go to junior college because it's terrible. Instead of the parents just saying, go where is the best fit. Now, I used to tell my kids, when you draw blood, that's your boundary. So, and they used to laugh at me, but I used to tell the kids, if you don't fall and don't know how to get up, how can you go ahead and do what you're going to do? And I tell the athletes the same thing. If you don't get a no, how are you going to know how to accept the yes? So I think it's really a hard thing, but parents are the biggest boundaries I find. And even today, I had a parent this morning, the biggest boundary she has, she wanted her daughter to go to a school that wasn't the right fit. And she was pushing and pushing, and the poor kid just said, forget it, I'm not going to play. The mom set the boundary. That's so sad. Parents, let go. When these kids start turning high school age, they do know their limitations. They know where they can stop. They know when they'll get hurt. The parents are the ones that stop. So I think it's the biggest thing that parents are the boundaries. Athletes can do whatever they like, and they can just try. But it's the parents, I think, more than anything. Teachers, yes. No, I shouldn't say it. Coaches, no. I shouldn't say either. Some coaches do put boundaries. Some coaches don't know, and they put the boundaries. So, but it's just teaching the kids to realize that they're not always right.
So Mary, when you say that and you talk to the parents, do you ask them why or what's causing them? Like, what are all the reasons why the answer is no to those specific options?
There's a couple. The biggest reason, because that's not good enough for my kid. That's the biggest one. But you want to know something that's really funny? Unless you're going to be a brain surgeon, it doesn't make a difference where you go to school. You have to take the same MCATs. You got to take the same NCATs that everyone else does, LCATs. They all come from all different schools. It's after you go on to that. But it's kind of funny. It's a parent, and that's the biggest thing. And then the other thing would be the parent's afraid that they're going to get hurt. They're afraid that they're going to go to a school and fail, or they're going to be too far away. That's a good one. They're going to be too far away, and they can't talk to me. Because a lot of parents do believe the only communication that this athlete has is with that parent, not realizing the parent's going to be replaced by the coach, by the team, by what they're going to learn in college. And it's hard sometimes for a parent to let go of that.
Yeah. I have a lot to say about that, but I guess I can just say that I understand where you're coming from in terms of the frustration in wanting to, you're really trying to change a parent's mind, and the parent comes to the table with their mind already made, because maybe it's possible that they've had this child. How old are they when they come to you? Around?
They come anywhere between 6th grade and senior in high school, and a couple college kids. Yeah.
So like, let's just say from age 13 to 18, 19. So they've had them for that long.
Right.
And they've been probably controlling a lot of their decisions because they want status. They're thinking their definition of what status is. One college might be fantastic to one type of parent, where another college would be completely, that would be theirs. So they have this whole mindset for how their kid's journey needs to be. Right. In their mind. And they're not really going to be looking at supporting the end result of the student's experience, of the child's experience in the school. So they're going to paint a different picture to the child. Exactly. Because it's their kid. And then their kid's like, I just don't want to make anybody mad. Or they get as frustrated as you say, and they're like, you know what? I'm not even doing it anymore.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why we developed Empowering Athletes. That's why we developed that. So they would be able to empower their decisions. Exactly. Yep. Sorry, Lynda, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Hold on. I think Lynda we're not able to hear her. Her voice has gone, or she's whispering very quietly.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah, there's a delay. Okay. I mean, I've noticed there is a bit of a delay, but hopefully, as long as we could hear you. I know. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird?
I'm going to try to tell a story. I will use ventriloquism, and I won't use my mouth, so you can't tell. How about that? So it's interesting, what you were talking about there, Mary, because I know this man, he's recently passed away, but he was Mr. Universe way back in the 50s, 1956, Mr. Universe. And his name was Earl Clark. But when he had a son, he decided to name his son Kent Clark. Clark Kent, exactly. Yeah, Superman, right? So he named his son after Superman. So Earl Clark, he was this very fit guy. He was Mr. Universe, 1956. So when Kent was growing up, Earl knew that Kent was going to also follow in his footsteps and be a bodybuilder and blah, blah, blah. That did not happen. Kent went totally opposite. Ken was about 350 pounds. He was way overweight, and he totally went to the opposite because his dad was in his face about this stuff. And I think parents, I'm a parent. My kids are now 35 and 34. And so, what kind of mistakes did I make when I was raising my kids? I don't know. They say I was a good mom, but I don't believe them, but that's okay. As long as they say I was a good mom. But, what kind of restrictions did I put on my kids? I'm sure I did. Don't touch that stove. It's hot. Don't do this. Make sure you wear this. All these different restrictions that we put on our kids. And so this isn't to bash parents or anything, but this is to have parents to look at their human beings that they're raising, which just happen to be a lot younger than them. Look at their human beings, and they have their own thoughts and dreams and passions. And, my dreams and passions were squelched because I let my parents and other people in my life squish them down. It was my own fault. I could have not done that. But, there's so many different things I could have done as a parent, and, like letting my kids fly on their own and fail on their own so they could learn their lessons would have been a really good one, actually.
Exactly.
I
And here's a
don't
really good
know.
example. Now, we
Yeah.
start these kids in sports at little. They're doing t-ball. They're doing all those other things like 4 or 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are giving them a decision-making thing to hit the ball, to run, to bounce the ball, whatever. We're already making decisions early than when we were younger, right? So by the time that they are 15, 16, 17 years old, they've made a lot of decisions. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
They have.
I can speak to that. I can actually speak to that because when I have my one and only, she's now 12, and when we got her, I wanted her to dabble in different things that are out there as a little kid. And you can go to these things called park districts. I don't know if they have them in San Diego or in the West Coast, but in our area with all the different suburbs that we have, we've got park districts. And so within the district, it's like all these different towns that are within this district can come together, and they get connected to different programs that are available and developed for them. So maybe it's a martial arts program, or it's an art program, or learning music or acting or some fun things. And you do it for a small amount. You test it out. And if you like what you see, you might be able to join the actual company that's out there that's a little bit higher in price and more investment of time. So
Okay.
I dabbled in this with my kid because it's just something to do in your little, new mom, little itty bitty. Let's try this music class. Let's try this. So one thing led to another, and she got herself involved with martial arts, Taekwondo. And she actually, out of everything that she tried out, ballet, hip hop, and all these fun things to do, she tended to really like Taekwondo. I said, okay, let's encourage and nurture the things she likes. And actually, I was secretly really happy about it because I would have wanted her to learn self-defense anyways. So she gets an early start, and that's cool. So from 3 years old, they let her in, and she started working on her skills. And that experience was really wonderful as a parent to watch, because with this specific school, they were really about getting good grades in school, all the other students that were there. And you learn how to give presentations. You kind of rid of the fears, and you learn what some of the tenets are of living life. And so she learned to present. She learned to do her forms, and to, think creatively of how to use certain defense mechanisms. And anyway, so she's been doing this. And recently, this really just happened. She's now 12, and she's overwhelmed. She just joined 6th grade, and 6th grade has classes it's not like one teacher and you learn everything with one teacher anymore, like you do in elementary school. When you get into middle school, you have different teachers, and they all have their homework. And then you have to do that homework, and then you have to go to class. You have to go to your martial arts or extracurricular activities, whatever. So she started seeing a little bit more frustration in it. And she said something to me that was really difficult for as a parent going into what we're talking about. She was saying, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And as a parent, for me, this is total transparency here. I work really hard to speak very well to my kid, but there's the other side of me with a whine that wants to talk to a girlfriend and say, I just want her to finish what she started.
Yeah.
I just want her to finish, just finish. But I have to stop and think about her. It's not about me. Just like what you're talking about, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
We go through these human moments where it's like, I'm a leader of my own right. I love to take care of goals, and I love the challenge, and I want to finish. That's me. That's Anita Myers. I have a little daughter who's 12. To me, she's still a little girl. She's not, in the grown-up stage yet, but she's growing. And for me, I have to know the fine line between guiding her to be independent and have certain values that work, and also allowing her to kind of navigate within herself to see what works. And sometimes it gets really hard to know the difference, because I sometimes get to a point, the other day I just sat there with a sangria and I'm like, what do I do? Yeah. Am I supposed to tell her to finish what she started, or am I supposed to say, let's take a break and let's see what happens? And I made a decision with it, but
wait,
I had that moment.
Wait, before you tell us, listen, she started at 3 years old.
Yeah.
She's been making those decisions and finishing and finishing and finishing and finishing and finishing.
Yeah.
She really has.
For
So
8 years.
finished for 8 years.
Yeah. I mean, she's a 2nd-degree black belt. She's on her way to a 3rd-degree black belt. Absolutely.
So
I know. I've
she
watched her
succeeded
grow. It's
very much
incredible.
for you. But the funny thing is this: when we were kids, were we doing that?
So we were like,
right.
watching
So
Woody Woodpecker.
Exactly.
Tom
It's
and
so
Jerry.
different now. Before we were playing games.
That's right.
Right. We were playing games, watching TV, doing stuff like that, never even thinking about what the
No.
decisions these kids are now making are the decisions we made when we were maybe 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, the maturity is different.
They're making them
Absolutely
now
different.
at 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's crazy. And that's why I think for boundaries, that's the biggest thing as adults. I mean, Lynda, you said your kids are 35, 33. Their decisions that they make are what you actually made a long time ago, but not in the same realm. So boundaries are so different for everyone because we crossed our boundaries at a different age than they are.
Yeah, and it's
And
interesting for me, like when my kids hit 18, they actually both moved out when they were 17. Like we told them for a long time, when you're turned 18, you'll be moving out of the house, because I didn't want to be like I grew up. I went back to my mom's and dad's house like a lot of times, and I didn't want them to have that because it was my crutch. And I realized that my parents allowing me to have that crutch was one of the worst things they could have done for me, because they were doing it for me, but in the same token, it was not the best thing. So I didn't want to give that crutch to my kids. So they both moved out when they were 17, and they've made a lot of interesting moves in their lives that I haven't agreed with, but I never say anything. I just like respect them and bless them, and if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And it is hard as a parent to be that way, but they get to make their own decision, make their own mistakes, and you get to have their own glories for the decisions that they make that turn out amazingly well. And it's really interesting. But I wanted to really quick bring up, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's this video going around on Facebook, and it's like this class of maybe 2nd or 3rd graders, and they're up there, they're singing this song, and I think it was the Aretha Franklin Respect song. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. And there's this class, they're like 2nd or 3rd graders, right there. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. There's this one girl, she's like, yes, and she's like all over the place, and like the video, of course, is like honed in on that one little girl who's like, she has no boundaries. She has no embarrassment boundaries. And what I hope for her is that she doesn't eventually see that video as that, ooh, look how silly I am, look how crazy I am, people are making fun of me. I'm hoping she doesn't ever see that way, because I like, now that I'm older, discovering myself and like, who is Lynda West, like who is Carmen Sandiego, who is Lynda West, right? It's like, well, now that I'm discovering this, like being that craziness and being who I really am, because I am out there, I am silly, I make silly things, I do silly things, but I've been embarrassed for so many decades because of, again, we're talking about boundaries, those boundaries that had been placed on me, and I allowed them to be placed on me. It's our decision of how big of a boundary do we want to set? Like I open my boundaries. My wall is down.
Right.
There's no wall.
That's why when we look at the millennials, everyone says, "Oh, they're lazy. They're not doing anything. There's
not true.
That's not true. No,
not at all.
They don't have any boundaries. They're doing what they want. Now you look at boomers like me, and people always say, "Oh, boomers." They think that whatever they didn't do this, they didn't save the money, they didn't do all this. Well, that's what we learned as we were growing up. But now, if you notice, all those boomers are booming and doing new things because they learn new boundaries from people like millennials. So if we can keep learning that we can step over those boundaries, that's like, wow, go for it.
Right. And if we think about the whole purpose of a boundary, I'm hearing what both of you are saying, and I tend to look at 2 points of a boundary, meaning being free is a really, really wonderful opportunity. And I think that when we get to feel our own sense of freedom, it feels great. That feeling of, I don't know if you like water, but getting into a lake or getting into a pool and just kind of knowing that you're in a safe spot, you just want to kind of float and enjoy. You want to have your mind feel that way. But also, at the same time, a boundary is powerful. It is important, but you have to be able to use it at the right time, because there are limits. I was actually having a discussion with my kid. We're making food in the kitchen. We're baking together. And I had a discussion with her about salt. It's making me think about this right now. Now, we think of salt, or like someone's being salty. we know that that's a negative thing. We know that someone's being kind of, doesn't taste so good, right? When something is salty, too salty. But salt is a really powerful spice. You put just a little bit of salt in certain meals, and it brings out the flavor. So there has to be a sense, when I say salt, think of all the other things that are out there. When we think about our borders and our border lines, like the way that we want to broaden our boundaries, a boundary is necessary for certain things, to keep certain things out and to keep other things in. So if we really spend the time to think about what our boundary needs to be, how close do we need it to be for us? Like what you just said, Mary, with the kids and the parents, allowing freedom is very important. There may need to be a newer boundary set, like when I talked about in the post, drawing a new discovery line, go a little further, test it out, and allow it. That's where the freedom can be, and that might offer potential. So when you step forward, Lynda, and you take a chance on something, and that chance works, that's fantastic. But how far do you want to go? There may be a point where you're going to say, this is my limit. This is where I draw the line. But as long as you know that you have an opportunity to sometimes push yourself over the borderline, you allow yourself the freedom that you need to discover. And I don't think there's anything wrong with discovery. And I happen to love both sides of the perspective of having freedom, but also knowing that you can draw the line in the sand at some point and you can make that decision. So you can be as wackadoo as you want to be, Lynda, and there's going to be some place where you're going to be like, here I'm not going to be. Like, this is where I'm not going to be, in that way. But it's nice to have that option to do that for yourself.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we always have that option to make that decision, right? Draw that line in the sand and decide if I'm going to jump over it or not. Again,
it's powerful.
Right,
it's like self-control. Yeah. It's a really powerful thing to know that you have both.
And that is the true freedom, right? Because you're talking about freedom. The freedom is the freedom of choice that we have, the freedom to make decisions to do or to not do. We have all these freedoms that we have. We're very fortunate, especially you living in the United States. We have more freedom than other countries. Even though people say our freedom is being taken away from us, we still have a hell of a lot more freedom than so many other countries out there. So stop your whining, people.
That's right, baby. That's right. No, but, enjoy what you have. It's wonderful. And there's always, listen, if anyone out here is understanding where Lynda's coming from, it's wonderful. If you still feel a resistance of that, what I can say is you have the freedom to change things. You have the freedom to go and talk to certain leaders and start the change yourself. So that's what's great. In some countries, you want to think about making a change, you're done. And you don't get to have that. So this is a place that if you really want to see a change, go out there and start that kind of movement for that change to take place. I love that
definitely.
About the country.
Yeah, so true. Another topic I want to talk about that is exactly about these borders and stuff. Border lines that we have, or what was our topic? I don't remember. Okay, so anyway,
broadening the boundaries.
Boundaries, not borders or boundaries. But is the word no, right? Because we need to. I
love that word. I love yes learning, and I love no. Yeah,
but like for me, for so many years, I was the yes person. Like, did you guys see that movie Yes Man?
Yes.
Who was that guy? I can't remember his name.
Not Jim Carrey.
Yeah, the other one. Jim Carrey. Yeah, Jim Carrey. Yeah, so the yes man, he had to say yes to everything, Mary. Oh my God, it was so funny. But that was who I was.
Oh, that's gotta say it. It's good.
That was who I was. I was the yes woman. I would just say yes to everything because I was a people pleaser. And that all stemmed from my childhood. Like I had a childhood that was not all that great. And so I had a lot of fear, and my fears turned into people pleasing, because if I people pleased, then nobody would get in trouble. Nobody would get hurt, and that stayed with me for 51 years until I finally found a life coach who taught me how to draw my boundary, taught me how to say no. Like I had to learn how to say the word no. It took a while. It took about, I want to say probably a good 6 months to a year for me to actually be able to say it without having fear of saying the word no.
I wonder if any of the viewers that are watching right now, if you remembered the first time you said no, if you were someone that if you were like Lynda, because I was there, I remember my first time, and I was, and I still am in many respects. I'm a people pleaser. I love to see people have joy in their lives. It's part of our service within our own heart. When we're a tribe that loves to see people thrive, so we help and we heal. So when I see that, I'm really excited about it. But I have to create my boundaries so that I'm not exhausting myself at the expense, helping others at the expense of exhausting myself. But I wonder if any of the viewers ever remembered the first time they had to say no to something that they were afraid of, but they did it anyways. Mm-hmm. There's something cathartic that happens when you finally say no, and then you actually get what you want, which is a good thing.
When you stand up for yourself. Yeah, Mary, yeah.
I was going to say, I think it's important to know that the word no doesn't have to be used. I don't use the word no at all. I use the word maybe not right now. Maybe we should take another look at that. Or is it in the best interest of whatever? I try not to use that word no as much as I use what is the alternative? Is that door opening up to that no opportunity, or no, is it really going to harm you? And that's something I say no. I ask people.
Nope.
Now, there is one person in my life that I can't say no to, and that's a whole different no. And that's why I think that that's important to see, because I have a person in my life that when I can't say no to them because in my mind or my whatever, I'm still in the guilt stage. So there's difference of no's. Do you know what I mean? There's still a no stage where you have a person, and then you have the world of no's. I think, like, my kids ask me a question and I'll never say, no, you can't do that. I'll say, well, let's think about that. Is that going to help you or hurt you? And is it a good decision? And even with employees now, I'll say to them, they'll say, can I have the day off? And I'll say, I don't know. Do you need the day off? They get so mad at me.
That's so interesting. That's so not me. It's nope. No. I'll hold up a sign. No is no. There is a time. There is a time and a place where I will explore the different ways of saying no. But I hear myself, I'm laughing. You're so wonderful. I'm going to record all of your optional no's, and then I'm going to play it. Like, we should put it in that button. We should put in that no button. Forget the no. It's a Mary no.
Well, no. When you wait, just think about it. When you go about it that way, you usually get your no. Usually, when you ask them, when you say, "Well, I'm not really sure. Let's think about the options of this, etc." By the time they're done talking, they usually come up with what you already wanted them to do anyhow. But they came up with them themselves, and they're feeling empowered. They're feeling like, "Wow, okay, that was a great talk. Thanks, Mom. Now I know what I'm going to do."
Well, what if we switch it to you, though? Because you're talking about other people, right? Because really, I'm talking about having a boundary for yourself. Like, if somebody asks, because I get asked to do things for people a lot, because I do a lot for people. And so there has to be a point where I have to say no, because and it's not a maybe later. No, it's literally a no, because I don't have time. I don't have time anymore because I've overloaded myself with all the other stuff. You should have asked me a week ago. When I was in the yes mode.
I think you make me laugh. When you look at the replay, you'll see me laughing through what you're saying, and it's not at you. It's about I think about this one individual when I was in my dating world. There's this one individual, which I think you could see this in a comedy show, where I went the route of trying to be nice about it when this individual wanted to go on a date with me, and I remember trying to, I really want to respect anybody who makes an offer to ask. I think that's hard to ask someone to go on a date.
Yeah.
And so when he had asked, and I had gone on a date with him, but the date was really uncomfortable and just, it didn't seem like a good fit. Okay. And so when I started to explain to him very briefly, he said, "Okay, you want to go on another date? Can we meet? Can we talk?" And I said, I don't know if that's really a good option at this point. I totally appreciate your time. Whatever it is I said it as nice as I could. And he's like, "So what are you trying to say? You don't want to go?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to say this." And then he's like, "So are you saying that you don't want to go on a date on another date? Like, what if we just did this?" And he kept finding all these different ways to ask. And I finally just said, the answer is no. That wasn't my first no, but like, I had to go to the no. So I went for, and I'm thinking about that dude. I feel bad, but like, he was really trying, and he didn't have the what's the word? Like, it felt socially awkward. That's what it was, where you don't recognize that body language and the language that literally kind of said, not kind of, it literally said no.
Yeah.
And he said, so when I said no, he said, so it means no. I'm like, yes, no means no. No. You know, and I wanted it to be comical because I don't want to make him mad, but, you know, it was one of those moments. But I think that when it comes to a personal, like Lynda, I'm looking at you now, when you talk about personal boundary, if we don't say no and we're saying yes all the time, what are we left? What's left for us? You know, in the end, we're the ones that are born alone and we leave this place on our own. So we have to make the time spent valued for us. I always say that oxygen on you first, then on them. So you have to fill yourself up. And sometimes it's a yes and sometimes it's a no. And you know what? The first time I said no, that was really important to me. My very first important no was because I was being controlled by my father's wishes. Again, going back to parents and child about you're going to do this because this is how it has to go down. And you reach an age where you don't want to do that because it doesn't fit your build, your makeup, your design. And it's a longer story for a whole nother day and maybe a glass of wine or two, but he had wanted me to continue in the path that he felt was right. And I knew all of the signs of that would be wrong for me. And I was afraid to say no. I thought at that young age, I thought, if I say no, he's going to kill me. I will die today. It'll be my last day. But I went ahead and I said, I remembered my eyes were closed when I said no. I was so scared. My heart's racing just thinking about it. But I went, no. You know, like I was so afraid because, you know, I grew up with the hit first, ask questions later. I thought I was going to get a beating of a lifetime. I had no idea what was going to happen. But he had said, okay. And it shocked the heck out of me because I told you what I just expected. So that was one of those big moments in my life I'll never forget because I went for it. I did it. I said no. I got the okay. I went through the guilt because you naturally want to go, okay, I feel bad now because he said, okay, maybe I should do it. You know, I went through all the stages of that. But once I got out of it, I learned saying no. In the many ways you can say no, Mary, in the many ways you can say no. But it got me to where I am today, believe it or not, because I know had I said yes, I don't know where I'd be today. I really don't know what location I'd be in. I don't know what occupation I'd be doing. I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. That's for sure. That's very powerful to say no for yourself, to grow. It offers growth and opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I have a person I can't say no to, but I mean, I don't remember I know the whole situation, but I just one person in my life I cannot say no to. Yeah.
Have you made it like a vow that you will never say no to, or is it just more like I'm afraid to ever say no?
It's guilt. I mean, I don't real fast. I'll go through the fastest scenario in the world because it's too long to go on the show. I was 21. I got pregnant. I had a son. I gave him up for adoption. It was an open adoption for where I was at, but I wanted whatever. It went through a whole big thing. 21 years. We were supposed to meet. We didn't meet, and then when we did meet, that was it. There was no way I was ever going to say no to anything. And it really killed everyone in my family because there are things that person did to me or whatever they did. They were mean or asked for money or whatever they did. I just couldn't say no because it was guilt. So, and even till this day, I mean, I know he's not watching, but even till this day, there are times I can't say no to him because it's a guilt. And my family sees it, and I tell them straightforward. And I tell them all the time when my daughters say, "Mom, you just got to say no." I'm like, I can't, not yet. So it's at one person. So
well, I'll hope and I'll pray for the day that can come where you feel strong enough so that you can show him how much you believe in yourself and some of your own opinions that do matter. And he might not agree with you. He might not, but at least he can appreciate, hopefully, that you have an opinion and no is one of them and it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, he knows I have an opinion because we talk about it all the time. But when he asks like for things or money or support or if the phone rings, I'll stop. Wait, everyone, wait, stop. I got to get this. I got to get it right now. And that's just because it's that whole guilt feeling. And that will go away in time, I'm sure. But yeah, that's the only one person I can never really say no to.
I understand that not from my personal experience for me, but somebody that I know has the same sort of, not the exact same situation, of course, but the same sort of situation where the guilt is so strong that she'll do anything for her daughter, and it's hard to see sometimes because sometimes the things that she does is actually harming the child.
Yeah.
And she knows it and the child knows it, but they still do it, and and this has been going on for 33 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Guilt is a beast. Guilt
only-
is a beast.
It's only
And that's like, we need like 5 shows to talk about guilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
It's been
kidding.
4 years. Okay. You got
I'm
plenty of
learning.
time.
You know what I hear a lot of?
Four
I mean, I hear more women say this sentence than I hear men.
Yeah.
I hear, I feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
They did something for someone because I feel bad. And again, we could talk more about it later, but that is definitely kind of like the ramp to guilt actions. I feel bad, so I did it. I feel bad, so and I would love for folks that go through the I feel bad syndrome to really sit down and look at that a little bit more, because I want you to feel good. So feel good to do it. If you're going to do it, feel good about it. No regrets. I watched an old show, not that old, but Meet Joe Black. It was Legends of Vault. Meet Joe Black. Watch that show. If you watch it again, there was something about the character Bill Parrish, who I love. Anthony Hopkins is the actor. I love him. And one of the things that he says in there, he's this, multi-billionaire, and he's basically spotlighted because of his abilities to handle life as beautifully as he did, and all the challenges that come. He's just really so sharp. So he's being kind of interviewed by, anyway, in the interview, one of the things that he's mentioned that was so important was no regrets. He always talks about how important it is to have no regrets. And, I just watched this for the 15th time, but it caught, sometimes you watch one movie many, many times and you learn different things in every time you watch it. And I've seen this since it came out, and I've watched it over and over. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And so all of a sudden, for whatever reason, I got that message was #no regrets. So every move you make, don't feel bad about it. You should feel good about it. And if you don't feel good about it, do the work until you do feel good about it. Otherwise, don't do it. Because then people live in regret.
Right. And I think the boundaries, when different age boundaries happen, where we have different feelings. So like Lynda, you're younger than I, and Anita, you're younger than I. But maybe, 34 years ago when I had my son, those boundaries were really tight. Really tight. And now look at later how those boundaries have opened up for adoption and everything. Isn't that wild? So I think you're right. You have to really look at those different boundaries and know where you're at and where you're coming in from. So that's a really good point, is that, like, I've never seen that movie, but because I don't watch movies, as you probably guessed now.
You're like, nope. That's where you say no. That's where you say no. Did you watch the movie? No.
Yeah. I don't know where you find time. Who has time to sit down and watch a movie? I don't know where you find time for that.
I find time at the end of the night where my eyes are like half open, but I just had to see it, kind of thing. And luckily for me, it's a weekend, and my daughter, I'm trying to have her see, now she's at an age where I think she's ready to see certain movies that tell stories of complications in relationships. So far, all that she sees, if you think about it, all the kids, when they're little girls and little boys, you see movies that are always these wonderful endings, which is true. And it's good to see good endings. However, I want to slowly bring her into the complications of relationships and how you handle love that comes in different odd sort of ways. Nothing that's too disrupting for her mind, but just a slow, steady. And I thought about this movie, which is, I did Meet Joe Black with her, and, she was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? What does she do? How is it going to happen? I can't believe it. And I loved seeing her thinking, because in reality, think about the number of stories. This is what I want Hollywood to do. There are so many fantastic, crazy out there stories that are real, to turn those into new classics, new things, no more remakes. I have to do #no more remakes. Someone said something about The Princess Bride and doing remakes. That's a limit right there. I don't want to broaden the boundary of a new Princess Bride. No,
Yeah, I wanted to
that's a
talk about
no.
a subject like from what you talked about there is obligation, because right, you were talking like when my mom passed away, I decided that from now on I will live my life with no regrets, and that was so important to me, and so my hashtag is no regrets. But talking about
Oh,
obligation, so often we do things because we feel obligated, and I want to share this because this was a really big turning point for me in my life. It was like right about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, when I decided I was going to live my life with no obligation. And it was like just a statement I made, like, I'm going to live my life with no obligation. So what happened was Christmas time came around for my family, and I've never really enjoyed Christmas when I was young. We didn't have any money, so Christmas wasn't fun for me because when all the kids were saying, "Hey, what'd you get for Christmas?" I was like, "I got this one thing," and everybody, I got this, I got that. Everybody was everybody was all excited about the stuff they got, and I just didn't have that. So Christmas was never like a great time for me in my life. And so I decided like 5 years ago, I told my family, I said, you know what, I'm not exchanging gifts this year. Just want to let you guys know in advance, I'm not exchanging gifts, because the only reason I've ever exchanged gifts is because I felt obligated. That was the only reason I did it. I didn't do it because it was Christmas, so everybody's doing Christmas gifts. So I made that decision, and they respected my decision, which was, I was surprised, first of all. But then my one sister said, that's okay. She goes, I'm still going to get you a gift. I'm like, okay, bring it on, but I'm not going to feel guilty. You know, I'm not going to get you a gift because you're getting me a gift. And so really just like standing up for myself and saying, you know what, it's not that I don't believe in Christmas. I just don't believe in the commercialized Christmas. And I don't believe in giving. I give gifts throughout the year.
Right.
I don't believe in giving gifts just because it's Christmas. So like my husband,
just because, which is cool.
Yeah,
right.
I do just because stuff, and it's just because I want to, not just because I'm feeling obligated. And so it is interesting to me, like when Valentine's Day comes around and people are like, "What'd your honey get you?" I said, "Nothing." Like, he doesn't feel obligated either.
Right.
He never has. So
I think that's, it's funny because you could almost go opposite, not intentional. I'm not asking for anyone here, just so you know, to be clear. I'm not suggesting a protest on Christmas or those holidays. If you feel good, you do what you do. But for me, I always tend to do things. I really am in alignment with you, because even my Christmases, my parents, they weren't even Christian, but they had a Christmas tree because everyone else did. And so everything that was underneath the Christmas tree was like liquor. So it was like, there's J&B and there's Crown Royal and there's, all these different, Johnny Walker Red. Like, I just remembered all of those images in my head, and they don't know about giving gifts. So I didn't have, when you're in America and you aren't adapting to the American way as much, it's hard for a child because they go to school and you hear all these, like, just, it's like you said, Lynda, what'd you get for Christmas? I'm like, Crown Royal. Like, what do I can't say that. I didn't, or I had socks the first time because my mom didn't know. Poor thing. She had no idea. She's like, I'll just get her socks. I have no idea. But you know what I did for Valentine's, that you mentioned what you mentioned. I bought myself a gift for Valentine's. It's a mug. I just got here.
Cool.
I fell in love with this poet. His work is really beautiful, and 2 years ago I stumbled across it. If anyone here knows J.M. Storm, I'm sure you've seen a quote out there somewhere. But I started reading his work, and it just, every time I read it, I just kind of go into that sentimental, hopeless, romantic place. And so I thought, I saw this one mug that has
a lot of writing.
A lot of writing. I'm not going to have you read it, but it says, and you might like it, Lynda. I don't know if this will relate to you or even to you, Mary, but it says, she is a beautiful piece of broken pottery put back together by her own hands, and a critical world judges her cracks while missing the beauty of how she made herself whole again. This, I have goosebumps just saying it. Like, this. That's like awesome. That kind of, doesn't it sound like something that you can resonate with, Lynda, and even Mary?
But here's my thing, is that why did you have to label it a Valentine's gift? You could just say, I got it for myself because I felt great about myself.
Well, I just said it to say it, Mary. I'm not putting it in like blood on
Good
my arm or anything. I'm just saying it happened. It's not even February. I'm just, this is my just because I love me gift. How about that?
There we go.
Right, exactly. Your obligation. You don't have to say it. You're not obligated to say Valentine's.
I'm not obligated to say it,
you're
Mary.
obligated
You're
to say
absolutely right.
I love myself enough that I went out and bought myself a beautiful mug
So
to read.
I'm plugging in Jam Storm. He's wonderful, and this mug is adorable. And I don't know if you want to get it, but I mean, I get nothing out of it. I'm just telling you, I get everything out of having this in my coffee and my tea or whatever. But cool. It's all in your head.
It's all in your head.
This is his new book that came out. It's volume 2. In case anyone's interested, I hope he likes what I just did. But I love this, and the point of me making this mention to you all is just do it just because, and you don't have to go by the rules of everybody else. That's broadening your boundaries. You create your own rules, get your own mug, do your own thing.
Exactly. So that's we have 2 minutes out. So
awesome.
That's Anita's ending. So Mary, what's your ending for the show?
Just have a blast. There are no boundaries, and have a blast because you only live one life. Live it without a boundary.
Live it without a boundary. Awesome. I love it. And then mine is hashtag no boundary, hashtag no regrets. Mine is just, live your life for the best of your ability to what you want. And, don't let other people stop you from living the life that you want to live, because when you take that last breath, hopefully you'll have lived your life with no regrets. Hey, you guys, tune in next week as we talk about hurt people versus heart people. Hurt people versus heart people. Understanding the bully. That's going to be a very, very interesting topic. I'm excited to talk about that because there's so much we can dive into for that. If you have any questions or anything, please pop them in the comments below. And I forgot to say at the beginning, hey, if you're watching live, do hashtag live. If you're watching replay, by now it's at the end of it, but do hashtag replay. You guys, will see you next week on Tuesday for Taco Tuesday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. UK time. From Lynda, Anita, and Mary, have a good day. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye. Keep warm.